Hi, I'm Pastor Tay of the Titus 2 Ministry and PastorTay.com. Welcome to Espresso. It's an interactive Bible study that is like espresso, strong and smooth. Enjoy the taste. Hey guys, I'm Pastor Tay. Did I just say? My name is Tay. I'm Pastor Tay of the Titus 2 Ministry and excited to be back. It's been about a year since we did Talk Live Tuesday. And so just looking forward to reconnecting with you and talking about marriage. And so if you are on and connecting right now, would you drop a comment and say hello? Give me a thumbs up. Martha, are you there? Okay, do you see me live? Oh no, Martha's having trouble finding me. I am live right now. Tell me if you guys can see me, okay? Anybody out there? You don't see me going live? Can you scroll down, Martha, and look for me? All right, guys, we're not quite ready yet. And tell me if you guys see me. Yes? No? Did you find me yet, Martha? Okay, so I'm gonna wave. Do you see me waving? Yes? You don't see me waving. Okay. Looks like some people are joining, but Martha, okay, so you're already about 10 seconds behind, but hopefully you can catch up. So anyway, I want to welcome everybody to Talk Live Tuesday. In fact, I want to welcome two groups talking about the Titus 2 Marriage Builders. And then the second group is the YouTube channel Espresso, where we take this video and then we also upload it there. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, on a replay, you can go there and do that as well. Okay, so anyway, hey Martha, do you have an earpiece that you could well, anyway, I'll talk to you about that later. All right, so Martha, are you there? Hey, I'm talking to Martha on my earpiece because she's going to help me field any questions that you might have. Drop your comments and questions, and because I'm going to be talking fast, that I won't always be able to catch your comments and questions. So Martha is here talking to me on a cell phone, and she'll be able to field the comments and the questions. So good to have you tonight. It's 5 o'clock here on the west side of North America, Pacific time. And some of you guys are across the country and in fact around the world. So good to have you guys join in right now. So Talk Live Tuesday is a live conversation that we can have every Tuesday, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. And you can drop your comments, you can drop your questions. And in fact, if you're catching this on a replay, you want to go to the Units tab. That is a menu tab. If you're watching this on a mobile device, it is right above you. And if you're catching the replay later, if you're watching this on a laptop or desktop, the Units tab is to your left. Okay, so go find it to find the previous ones. And what I mean by that is we developed a structure there where we took the four major parts of marriage. And what we did was we organized our conversation according to the four. The first is communication, and all experts say that communication is the key to building the marriage. Conflict or conflict resolution, that's all about fixing the problems in the marriage. And then four is in-laws. Boy, what a big topic that is, right? And then the fourth is sex. And what we do is each week we go through the four one by one. Okay, tonight is communication. And then once we finish the four, it'll take 4 weeks. We then go back and start from the top again. And so that is our 4-week rotation. Okay. And so again, I want to welcome Martha Wielden. Martha, you want to, I see Shannon. Hey, Shannon. Okay. And thank you for saying hello to me. Appreciate that. I think she is in Central Time. So it's good that we're connected there. Martha, you want to drop a hello? Okay, Martha is in Pacific time. Can you do that? Are you there, Martha? Okay, she's having some technical difficulties, but anyway, we're just gonna keep on going here. Okay, so we're gonna follow the same four structures, and the reason why is that it's all about retrieving it later. Okay, so it's good that some of you guys are watching now, but we want to make sure that people later who want to catch it, they can go there and retrieve it. And so it's very important that we stay organized tonight, okay? And so, anyway, we're going to talk about communication. And you know what? We need to stay focused, guys. So, listen, I know communication is a huge topic, and we could be all over the place. And let's not try to do that because if we're all over the place, it's going to be hard to categorize and then retrieve it later. So let's try to stay focused on one topic and please drop your comments and questions. And there's a chance I might miss it because I'm talking and not always reading what you say, but I'll try. And that's why Martha is here. Martha, you okay? No? I'm sorry? Say it again, Martha. I'm talking to her on the cell phone. Hello? Okay, right now. All right, so Martha needs a little time. There's always technical difficulties, but tonight I thought I'd answer the question that Martha, you posted on, hey, I see your picture, I think. Martha, is that you? Are you on? Okay. So, Martha, did you post a question a couple days ago underneath one of the posts about body language or something like that? Did you do that? Okay. So, okay. So why don't we start there? And I'm just paying respects to uh, the questions that are posted there. Okay. So Martha posted a question. She just said it in my ear. How important is body language? Okay. Can somebody write that on the chat until Martha is brought up to speed? She's having some internet connection problems, but somebody write that down. We're going to start there and let's see what we can do tonight talking about that topic. Is that okay? Give me a thumbs up. And I want to say that this is truly an important topic. In fact, before I forget, I actually did a Talk Like Tuesday about a year ago. Maybe it was longer than that. Wow, called nonverbal communication. Okay, so it's all the communication that we do without words. Okay, so that was the hot topic, and at that time we confirmed that all the things that we communicate without words is very powerful. And so, Martha, feel free to respond inside the chat as I'm answering your question. You asked how important is body language. I'm going to say it is like right up there at the top. It is so important, okay? And because it sends a very powerful message. Guys, did you, I'm sure you have heard the term or phrase, action speaks louder than words. That is definitely true. And so we want to say tonight that all the actions, and by the way, we want to expand it out, just like the previous video I did a year ago called Nonverbal Communication. What we're really talking about is all the nonverbal communication, and body language is just one of those categories underneath the broader topic of nonverbal. So again, nonverbal meaning all the things that we communicate that don't involve words but are just so powerful. So to answer again how important it is, a lot of experts say it's more important than the verbal. Wow, think about it. We have that expression, action speaks louder than words. And I think that's very true. Like if you evaluate a person's action, don't you think that that speaks so loud, much more than the words? In fact, if the body language or the other things say one thing but their words say another, don't you tend to believe the body language? Don't you tend to believe the facial gestures or the rolling of the eyes or tone of voice and those things as conveying a more powerful message than the actual words. Sometimes we say things like, oh, there's an expression, talk is cheap. Okay. Sometimes we devalue words because the body language, the facial gestures, and all of the non-verbal things, that's what we're talking about, is very powerful. So to answer your question again, Martha, is really important. It's actually, some scholars say, more important than the verbal. If you guys have any comments or questions, drop them below and tell me what you think. Hopefully, we can get into some scripture tonight. But I'm thinking that we're on this pretty important topic right now, and I'd love to hear your comments and questions as I progress. That why don't we call this part two? And what I mean by that is a year ago again, I did a Talk Live Tuesday called Nonverbal Communication, and it looks like tonight can be part two. I can just sort of build on top of that as Martha wanted to know about the importance of body language. So you know what? After this is done, I'm going to archive it inside the units tab and put it next to the other one on nonverbal communication. We'll call that part one. We'll call this part two. And so you can watch both and get even more information. So how does that sound? Sound like a plan? Okay, Martha, you okay? Are you there? Okay. All right then. Martha's still trying to connect, but hey, we're just going to keep on going here. So let's just confirm some of the categories that are involved in nonverbal communication. Okay, trying to answer Martha's question about body language, and you guys can jump in. And there's a lot of things. I mean, what would you say are some categories of nonverbal communication? For example, visual. And by the way, experts say up to 80% of nonverbal communication is visual, meaning what you see. Like, can you guys drop some comments? Like, what do you see that affects you? And it can be good, okay? It can be bad. Like smiling. I really like people who smile as opposed to what? Frowning or smirking or showing some sort of attitude in your face. So it's visual, right? Here's a classic: rolling the eyes. So there's a lot of ways that you can express yourself. So can I say it this way? Can you communicate without saying a word? Okay. Um, that reminds me, I've got a set of audios on my website, pastortay.com, under the resources. I think I've got three audios there, part one, two, three, called Speaking Without Words. Okay, so you might want to check that out. But it's all of these things like visual stuff, or how about audible things, like pitch, tone of voice. Have you ever, guys, in your marriage argued about tone of voice? Like, I don't like your tone. Or, they said something, the content was okay, but the tone was so bad that you guys get all hurt and offended. And I don't want to say that just women are sensitive to that. I want to say that sensitive people are sensitive to that. Generally, women tend to be sensitive to tone of voice, and rightly so. Listen, that's not a criticism, okay? But there are a lot of men, including me. I prefer certain tones over other. Okay. Hey, I see Martha there. Are you okay, Martha? Now, are you connected? I just saw your right tone of voice. Okay. All right. So that's what we're talking about. So Martha, are we answering your? Am I answering your question about body language, or almost there? Actually, referring to it, but we're on this big category of non-verbal communication. How's that sound? Okay, she said it sounds good. Give me a thumbs up if you guys think this is a very important topic. And I'm telling you, we're talking about communication. Experts say that communication is the key to building a relationship. So we want to say that this is definitely very, very important. So visual things, audible things, physical things, and underneath physical things, there's body language. Okay, what Martha asked about. Um, like, what is body language, right? It's things like, I don't know, shrugging your shoulders, turning your head, you know, what, this kind of turning your head? Or what, how about this? Folding your arms. And there's a lot of ways that your body, you can create a sense of, there's a phrase, standoffish. Have you heard that term before? Standoffish. Aloof is the idea that you just kind of act like, hey, don't get close to me. Okay. And there are a lot of people who are standoffish and it kind of breaks the connection. So I see Shannon write something. Martha, can you read Shannon's comment to me? No? Okay, then let me take off my glasses and see. Shannon wrote, in conflict and stressful times, how does a couple go from arguing, yelling, or shutting down, non communication, back to proper communication with respect to communication? Okay. All right, Shannon, that's a really big thing, and that really is, wow, we could talk about so many things related to that. So I want to say two big things. Number one, that's really a conflict thing, and remember the four major things. Um, Communication. Next week we'll talk about conflict. We'll talk about um, in-laws, and then we'll talk about sex. You wrote another word, redundant. It's kind of redundant, I guess. Are you referring to your question? But so I'm going to say, Shannon, we're going to talk more about conflict next week. But I don't want to postpone your um, question. It does involve a lot of things, such as maybe backing away from the heat of the moment. Okay, you're talking about yelling and screaming and getting back. You said right, uh, to a place where the communication is more um, edifying and helping each other, right? So that involves so many things, right? Like maybe pulling away from a little bit until you both calm down. That reminds me of another video I did on Talk Live Tuesday called Wisdom and Timing in Communication, where you have to consider the timing, you have to consider the situation, pull away, cool down. Again, I'm just right now, I'm thinking about 1,000 different things that are related to that. Heat of the moment reminds me of Ephesians chapter 4, verse 9. Shannon, would you write that verse down? Ephesians 4, verse 29, where it talks about don't let any unedifying words come out of your mouth, or hurtful words come out of your mouth. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but only words that are edifying and so forth. You know that very famous verse there, Ephesians 4:29. But there's a phrase there about edifying and helping one another uh, according to the need of the moment. Now, I talk about that a lot in the video called Wisdom and Timing in Communication, but I want to bring it up now in response to your question that part of it is reading the moment. And if the moment, okay, is the heat of the moment and you guys are yelling and screaming, well, you're not ministering in that moment. And so obvious, right? That's, you got to pull away and you got to regroup and you have to then pick the right time. And the way you do it, there's so many ways, whether you just say it to the person at that moment or you come back a little later, but you say, hey, this is not the right time. This is not helping. Why don't we take a break? Why don't we come on back? So Ephesians 4:29 is the right verse for that. And then waiting is also a biblical principle of waiting, not just until things calm down, but waiting and creating a right opportunity then to go and then start it back up again, but now with a better focus and now with, you know, I guess more intent to focus on the problem and fix the problem as opposed to just attacking one another. So tell me if you guys understand. In fact, I'm reminded of Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, where it talks about if your brother sins against you, go and show him his fault. And it sounds kind of like confrontational and negative, but actually, if you read the end of the verse, it says, if he listens to you, you have won him over. And so the purpose is to win over. So now, Matthew 18, verse 15, write that down, please, is about you are talking about the sin, but you're doing it in a way that Another verse just came to my mind. But anyway, doing it in a way that wins the person over. So definitely, uh, you can actually talk about the sin. You can actually talk about the problem, and you can do it in a way that's going to win the person over. So Shannon, that's a very long answer, but there is actually more to that. Please bring the question back again next week as we talk about conflict and arguing and how to focus on the problem and not attack the person and actually not being afraid to confront, but confront in a loving way. And that can actually, what is that verse in Psalm? What is it? Psalm 145? I don't know. Somebody Google it for me. But the verse says, "Let him strike me. It is kindness." And so you're striking the person, but it's interpreted as kindness. So you can be strong in your words, but it can now come across as kindness. And so there's a whole way of doing that we can talk about next week and onward. But wow, we're kind of jumping around, which is good. But please continue to share your insights and comments and the question. What do you guys think? Drop a comment, question below. Even if you're watching this on a replay, you guys can drop your comments and questions. And what that does is it brings this video, which is inside the units category, because that's where it's going tonight. It's going to bring it back into the home feed if you drop a comment during a replay, and it revives the whole conversation. So it's all good. If you're watching, if you can't catch it right now, catch it on a replay, drop a comment, bring it back to the home feed, and we can continue to talk about it some more. Okay. All right. Very good. How you guys doing tonight? Okay. You guys able to catch these things? So anyway, good that you guys are here, and we've talked about how to have conversations in an edifying way. Martha asked a question about body language, and I'm just going to keep on going and talk about body language, and then in about a few minutes we'll stop. We'll kind of clean it up, and then we'll pick it up next week. So tonight the focus is on communication, and I want to encourage you guys to jump on in and be part of it. And we happen to be talking about body language, which is a small part of a larger category called nonverbal communication. Things like visual things, audible things, physical things, or material things, meaning you can speak very strongly by what you wear. You can dress sloppy and people will say, "Hey, are you sick?" Or you can dress real nicely and that can come across a certain way. So I'm just saying there's a lot of ways that you can communicate without speaking a word. Okay. And so these are all important. Dress down, dress up, dress provocatively. There's many things that can be communicated even by material things. Uh, Experts also mention smell. The technical term is olfactory. And so the idea is, smells really impact you and can send a message. Good smells or bad smells. Did you take a shower? Or guys don't smell very nicely, after a long day of working hard and sweating, and then their wives late at night, a lot of, and again, not trying to generalize, but a lot of people, spouses appreciate if you jump into bed at night and you don't smell so bad, And so all of those things are factors too. Your smell can be an impact in communication. All right, somebody wrote something. I got to take off my glasses and see what it says here. It says, find your partner's love language, touch, eye contact, tone, timing. All right, I appreciate that, Shannon. There's actually two things that are going on there in your commentary. The first is that there's the general power that's involved in touching, eye contact, tone, timing, the things that you are listing there. They're generally very powerful, good and bad. But the other thing that you're emphasizing there is find your partners, meaning that even though these are generally good, you are now specifying it, meaning you are now bringing it down to one person. Because listen, We're talking about marriage. We're talking about pleasing one person. We're talking about loving one person. You don't have to do that to everybody in the whole wide world. How many people are there in the world? Okay. You want to minister to that one person. So I appreciate your comments there. It's about finding your partners. In other words, what does your partner need? What does your husband, what does your wife need? And then adjust. Adjust. That's what you're saying. That reminds me again of um, first. Sorry, I'm getting all kinds of messages here. All right. You guys know I'm on Talk Live Tuesday. I have people messaging from other situations. All right. So stop that. So listen, I want to say, what was I trying to say? Okay, now I lost my train of thought. Adjust. Oh, it reminds me of for I can't even talk. Ephesians chapter 4 verse 29 again mentions according to the need of the moment. So you're adjusting. You're constantly adjusting your language so that it would adjust to or meet the needs of that particular moment. So good stuff there. So again, I'm just going to keep on talking. We're talking about communication. All experts say is the key to um, building a marriage. All right. And so, with that in mind, all right, I know somebody stopped messaging me. It's a key to building a marriage, and we happen to be talking about nonverbal stuff, and that's really great. This is a great place to pick up after a year of not doing Talk Live Tuesday because experts say that nonverbal communication is the key to building a relationship. And so, hold on one second. I see another message coming in from Central Time. It says I statements talk about how you feel. Don't make attacking you statements. Okay, I like that, Shannon. I like it. Don't make attacking you statements. Again, there's definitely an overlap between this unit category on communication and conflict. And so, Shannon, feel free to bring that back next week. But let me just say that you're absolutely right. Okay, the whole you statements remind me of Matthew chapter 7. Somebody dropped a verse where Jesus talks about the splinter in your brother's eye. What verse is that in Matthew chapter 7? Um, when you have a plank in your own eye, you guys know that verse, right? And so that's a verse where you're looking and attacking and blame shifting, right? What is that, Martha? Can you find that and drop that down? And so the whole idea is that you're focusing on the sins of other people, and Shannon is reminding us that that's not how you do it. You got to focus on I, meaning what did I do wrong, or what can I do to be part of the solution right there, right? So Matthew chapter 7 dropped the actual verse there. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? Excellent. Okay. Commentary. Verse 3. So Matthew chapter 7, verse 3. Thank you. Martha just spoke that in my ear. And please drop that down, Martha. Martha, when you get... I even mispronounced your name. I just called you Martha. It's Martha. Martha Wielden. She is helping me with the show. Please say hi to her. And so she's going to drop down Matthew chapter 7, verse 3. And that, I'm telling you, blame shifting is the oldest trick in the book. And I'm talking about the Holy Book, right? Because, tell me, pop quiz, who was the first one to blame his spouse? Well, I said his, so you know it's a guy. Who was it? Wasn't it Adam? Wasn't it Adam? It was he blamed God, and actually he blamed, how did it go? It was the woman you gave me, right? Isn't that what she said, or he said? It's the woman you gave me. She gave me the fruit and I ate it. So he totally had the victim mindset, blamed her, and even blaming God. And I'm telling you, the victim mindset is some serious stuff that we got to talk about, because the whole victim mindset. Okay, so Shannon, you win the prize tonight for the pop quiz. The answer is Adam. Okay, I don't know what the prize is, but you got it. It is Adam. Blaming. And so it's the oldest trick in the book, right? It's the victim mindset. Hey, it's not my fault. It's her fault. Okay? And so having the victim mindset and not taking ownership. So that's what Shannon is saying when she's saying not the I statements. Excuse me, it should be the I statements, taking ownership and not blaming your spouse. And so good stuff right there. All right, so lots of good stuff on that right there. And I'm also weaving in tonight because I'm going to call this video Nonverbal Communication Part 2, but we're also going to weave in some of the good stuff that Shannon has mentioned tonight about conflict and arguing, taking responsibility, not blaming the other person. I want you to feel like you guys can jump in. We have the larger category called communication. And I kind of like this a little bit better. It may not be as organized, but it's giving you an opportunity to drop in your comments and questions. So tell me if you like it. And so, hey, I see Yoshanda Stafford. Wow, all the way from the East Coast. Okay, she is not sleeping right now. All right, glad to have you on board. And we're talking about communication tonight. Martha got us going by talking about body language, and I said, hey, that's part of a larger category called nonverbal communication. Thank you, Martha. You dropped in the title of this video, Nonverbal Communication Part 2. So make sure you catch Part 1. That was done about a year and a half ago, where I talk about a lot of things and a lot of details, and it was a more of a formal presentation. Go take a look at that. But in this one, I'm just sort of winging it and having a good time with you guys. So we talked about what? A bunch of categories, right? Like visual, um, audible, right? These are all the different categories. And body language, right, Martha? That's a big one. And olfactory, which is your sense of smell, like you stink, and that can be offensive, or you smell good, that can be very nice, right? Or how about this? Listening. Wow, this is a huge category, right? Listening. All right, George, I want you to stop messaging me. I'm right in the middle of the show. Stop messaging me, okay? I'm I'm rebuking George Doe, who was the original director of Marriage Builders. Right now we have Heather Owen, doing a great job, but George is busy with the other group we just launched called Titus 2 Overcoming Porn. So he's dropping me comments, but stop it, okay? I'm right in the middle of a show. All right, so the show must go on. So listening, I was saying, is another major category of nonverbal communication. Hey, when your spouse really listens to you, doesn't that bless you? Tell me if it does. I'm thinking that's a capital YES for all of us, because part of arguing is you're not even listening. But when you do this nonverbal thing called listening, it's a very powerful thing, okay? So that's another area. I'm just confirming uh, Martha's original question, how important is body language? I'm saying, Martha, all the nonverbal stuff is seriously important. Body language, tone of voice, visual things like rolling the eyes, facial gestures. I just mentioned listening, that is huge. What about this? It just came to my mind. Silence. Have you heard the expression silent treatment? Like you don't want to talk to your spouse? Now, no words are said, right? I mean, so it's not verbal communication, but do you communicate things without words by the silent treatment? Oh, yeah. Silent treatment is classic. Did you guys ever do that? Okay. Drop a comment below and tell me. So, silent treatment can be, very powerful. Like, I'm not talking to you. So, that's nonverbal communication. That's just as powerful as body language and everything. I suppose you could even say it overlaps with body language because what are you doing? You're walking away, right? You're turning your head. You don't want to talk. You go to the other room. Okay, that's all part of the silent treatment. So anyway, those are just some of the things I just threw out there in response to what's going on, and it looks like Sandra Lopez. All right, woman of God, saying hello. So hello right back to you. Hope you are doing well. And she has been with us for many years inside the Titus 2 Marriage Builders. Glad to have you on board, and God bless you and your ministry. and your pastor husband, Benny. So glad that you guys uh, are still connected to me because I love those guys. All right, so glad to have you guys there. So um, I want to say, in response to Martha's question about body language and nonverbal stuff, and you guys, please drop your comments in about communication in general or what you think about nonverbal communication. It's 5:36 Pacific time, so it's already. I thought I'd go about 30 minutes, but I'm just gonna go just a couple more minutes. Is that okay? And so I want to keep everything about 30 minutes long, and that'll make it a little bit easier while you guys are listening to this on the replay. So I'm going to say that all those things that we mentioned, body language, smells, what you wear, silent treatment, all the things that I mentioned, those are like broad categories that are general, and we want to all agree that those things are important. But then there's other things that take these that I mentioned and affect them even more. So I've mentioned a whole bunch of things, right? Like smells and tone of voice and body language, right? So look at this one hand where let's say I've mentioned five. I've mentioned more, but let's say I mentioned five. But then there's other things that affect these five, okay? Things like personality, okay? So your personality really becomes a factor that, things play out just because what are you, an introvert or an extrovert or an ambivert, which is a combination of both. Some people are like high functioning introverts, and they also have an extroverted side. And it's very complicated, is what I'm saying. So you may have a whole bunch of nonverbal categories that I mentioned here, but then there's other categories that affect that as well, such as personality and also culture. Now, I am definitely blessed, and I mean that, blessed to live in a part of the country where there is such ethnic diversity. You know what I'm talking about, Martha? I'm talking to Martha in my ear. There's so much ethnic diversity everywhere. You just go to the airport. You can actually just go to a restaurant and just see people from all different cultures and backgrounds, and you hear different accents. And that just reminds me that it's not as simple as all of these factors, but culture, their cultural background, and how they understand or appreciate or not appreciate some of these things. Like different cultures have different um, appreciations about personal space. Like some cultures have very little personal space. That's how they show love and connection. Then there's other people that really like a lot of personal space. I think we on the west side, western areas, we kind of want space. Hey, don't get too close to me. And other parts don't. So all of those things play factors as well, right? It's very real. Hey, I think Sandra wrote something. Let me take off my glasses. Man, let's see here. You have added great value and wisdom to our relationship. Your ministry continues to bless us. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you very much, Sandra, and many blessings back to you as you continue to impact so many people, not in just general ministry, but those two people, Sandra and Benny, her husband, are also Christian counselors as well. So you guys want to reach out to them with your life challenges, and they will help you with that as well. All right. So I'm just saying you got a bunch of nonverbal categories that we mentioned, body language, tone of voice, etc. But then you have other interesting factors like personality, culture, and things that also play well. So very, very complicated. Now, we run out of time, and maybe we'll have a part three. But I want to say that I want you to go back to part one, which was done about a year and a half ago, where I go through ways that you can adjust your nonverbal communication. That's very important. Okay. How can you adjust it? And what about when people do that to you? Like you're receiving nonverbal stuff that you don't like tone of voice or whatever. How do you then respond to that? Those things are covered in part one. You guys can take a look at that. But I just want to say in closing that I enjoyed my time with you guys. And it just reminded me all again that there is so much to talk about, right, guys? So Martha just asked a simple question about body language, but here we are. We went off in so many directions, and then Shannon brought good stuff. And so listen, um, let's do it again. Let's do it again next week. And again, I want to remind you that we are on a four-part rotation, four major topics of communication, conflict, in-laws, and sex. Tonight was communication. That means next week is conflict resolution. Then it'll be in-laws, and then sex. Get your questions ready every Tuesday night, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. So that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're on a replay, please drop a comment, and that we will try to get back to you on that. And if you need somebody to talk to, okay, you need counseling, you can contact me for a free conversation, guys. You know that I'll respond right away. So contact me, and we can have a video conversation, or we could talk on the cell phone. If you go to pastortay.com, even my cell phone is listed there. You can text me, okay? And so all of that is there. I want to thank Martha for helping me run the show tonight. She's the one that's dropping the comments and helping us to stay organized. Say hello to her. And we together, Martha and I, want to thank you for joining us, and have a great evening. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week on Talk Live Tuesday. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for a devotional drink today. If you love espresso, click here to subscribe so you know when the next one is ready to enjoy. Visit our website for resources for every chapter of your life. And if you're thirsty for more, click here. See you next time. May God bless your day.